What?
I came back to something.
Are you fucking... How the fuck do you pull that off?
I'm not, like, you and I are both equally maladjusted, just in different ways.
That's... No, though. You would have to consciously hit the lock and then close the door while you're on the outside.
No. I don't think you understand. I would hit it on the inside with my hand on the lever before getting out of the car.
But then it would undo by opening the door.
No. So the door would open, I'd grab my shit, I'd come out, and as I was leaving the door, smack it with my hand and then shut the door.
Oh. I mean, it pans out the same at the end of the day.
I did accidentally lock my parents' car keys in their brand new Audi A4. And we had to ask a builder nearby to smash the window in with a sledgehammer.
Could you not have called a locksmith?
No, because you have to call Audi themselves, who would have to send one of their engineers out because they can't give a third-party company the access to their encryption keys to unlock a vehicle. So it would take them
Does this vehicle
weeks
not
to get
have
there.
any kind of mechanical anything?
Okay, if it was electrically locked, then
Yeah, it's an entirely electric locking system.
Okay, that's cursed.
This is why good old-fashioned mechanical shit so much better.
Well, so that's the point. Like, it was ultimately cheaper to smash the window and get that repaired than it was to get a guy out to unlock it.
Amazing.
Ironically, the insurance covered that.
Nice.
Technically speaking, it did not cover you yourself intentionally smashing a window. But technically speaking, we never asked him to smash the window. He took that upon himself, so it was considered vandalism, which is covered, and we didn't press charges, so it was fine.
Amazing.
Hello, kitty.
Yeah. So, where's my cat?
Welcome, everyone, to the liberation of St. Cardias Rest.
Vandalism not included.
Yeah, try not to smash your parents' car window if you can avoid it. It tends not to go well. Though, credit to Audi, their windows are really tough. This was a big guy, and it took him 3 swings.
I have a story about breaking windows. I'll tell you at break.
But yeah, welcome back to the liberation of St. Cardias Rest. When we last left off,
there was a hole.
There's a media.
There was a hole. That's what she said.
Yeah, the crew had been dealing with some unexpected information, heading north to investigate reports of a meteorite that struck the ground, while leaving Nualia in charge of the prisoner and the camp. So, we shall return to... we'll return to the exploration team up north.
Yeah, I think we left off on some discussion happening, and I don't remember what it was.
We were getting out, and the last thing that happened was that I described pulling out what was basically a handheld prayer wheel.
Oh, okay.
Using that.
So there's a hole. We should probably go check it out.
I do agree with this, yes.
Alright. Hugh, is there like any kind of rope we can use to rappel down there? Or I think you mentioned
There
something about
actually
rope
is.
still being there.
At the edge of the hole in the ground, at the end of a long trench, this thing seems to have hit the ground at a shallow angle. And yeah, sitting at the end are a couple of heavy metal stakes that have been hammered into the rock, with a couple of ropes tied around them, leading into the gloom.
At this point,
wait.
just going, okay, we all need standard scuba equipment and climbing gear next.
So,
This is the next
two
edition.
questions. Two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, do we have an Auspex?
No.
No.
No. For some reason, I thought someone did. Second question.
That's
Could-
the other game.
Is it? What?
We
Oh,
need,
yeah,
we need
what's
an
his face
Auspex.
Space Marine
What's
had
his-
the aspects.
Yeah, okay, I remember now. Other
Second
question is it feasible to send a servo skull down first?
I was gonna say either do that
The
or just
hole
or
is wide
toss
enough for a person, so it's definitely wide enough for a servo skull.
or Flux. You could just toss a flash grenade down there and see what happens.
While I'm never not excited about an explosion, even I know that you can't just explode wherever you want.
Well, it's not really exploding, right? It's a flash grenade. Should be non-lethal.
You might want lethal depending on what's down there. If you
Alright,
just
I can-
piss
I'll send
something
a servo
off,
skull down. Can we?
Flare would do the job, just for the record.
I meant specifically to blind people that were down there, but
But
Riven, get yourself set up on the surveillance array and send a skull in.
we'll do. Got it, boss.
real quick, out of character, I'm like super scared of there being like a fucking lictor down there.
Oh,
I don't know. I got like bad vibes from this fucking hole,
I
man.
do not even know what that is.
Really, really
Oh, you
terrifying
don't.
Tyranid.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Basically, stealth god Tyranid that's also like on the strength tier, like it's the step down from a Carnifex,
Well,
if I remember correctly.
and the Carnifex is basically a giant walking tank that crushes
Yeah.
tanks.
Yeah.
All right, so I am sending a servo skull down.
Yep.
alright. Are you plugging in or operating it manually?
I am going to. I'll plug in. Why not? Got a minute.
Alright.
While that
Yeah.
happens,
Go
Okay.
for it.
I was gonna just say Atlas will kind of go to Flux, and he'll say, Sergeant Major, I hope you don't mind, but I would highly recommend you get some of your soldiers here to make a formation around the hole, just in case something hops out quickly.
Definitely agree with that one. Sorry, I'm like plugging in computers so I can actually see the map right now.
Yeah. You had Feely, Brackle, Menson, Nubel, Leisha, Bullet, Frampt, all sitting in the back of the Taurox.
All right, so I assumed you needed a tech roll. Sorry, I rolled in advance and got a 4.
I arrived. For real this time.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. One of these servo skulls lifts from its cradle, bobs in the air, beeping for a few seconds as it connects to the system, then drifts out of the back of the Taurox, heading for the hole. A small lumen strip underneath its mechanical eye flickers on, illuminating a kind of rectangular band in front of it as it begins to descend.
Okay, this is like the descent. All right. Is there a map? Do I need to navigate, or do we just kind of roll?
Well, as it descends, I will return briefly to Flux and the others as you watch the servo skull disappear into the hole in the ground. What are you going to do?
Atlas is keeping his head on a swivel in every direction. He's pretty on the fucking nerves for this particular thing.
This might be me being a dumbass. Do we have a map
Not
for
of
this? Okay.
It'll be
Cool.
theater mastermind for this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
That's
We
good.
love it.
We do, because
You
when we
hate
shoot,
maps.
I
You
do
can
hate
every
maps.
time I use a map.
but also if we shoot things, then we can kind of like fudge the distance a little bit. It's theater of the mind.
Absolutely.
I don't know. That's super cursed to me, to be honest.
On the one hand, I hate maps because I hate having to look at a thing. On the other hand, I also have a really hard time visualizing space around me. So I have a love-hate relationship
Yes,
with
but
maps.
you have
This is
us.
why I
So
use maps. But in
you
this
have the thing
instance,
with the,
you are in a fairly open space surrounded by rocky outcrops and rolling tracts of Cardias blood, next to a trench that disappears underground, as though a torpedo or something had driven through the surface.
Also, it's not a meteor. It's just a bunker buster bomb.
Or it was a piece of a Tyranid ship that burrowed in.
it's very specific.
That's how they do. Some of them. As far
What
as
do you
I'm
think?
aware.
Alex?
Who specifically had we had with us? It was all of Squad 1 minus Packard, right?
Yep.
And
Feely,
no extra
Brackle.
additions.
Feely, Brackle, Boulert, Menson, Leisha, Nubel, Frampt, and then Riven and Atlas.
Right. Brackle, Bullard, Menson, and Newbell. Do me a favor and cover the whole Feely. Get yourself a view around the place. I want you to keep a watch and keep yourself on the Vox. Everyone else, bit behind Fire Team 2.
Gives you a sharp salute and turns to the other and says, "You heard the sergeant. Up you get."
Flux is
Brackle
gonna
gives her-
climb themselves on top of the Torox with their long las to do lace sniper.
Alright.
Atlas
Brackle
will
mutters
draw a last
darkly
pistol.
under her breath, but they all climb out and take up positions around the hole, facing outward, keeping an eye out for anyone approaching.
Well, I will note that as Atlas pulls out the pistol, he does noticeably flick off stun.
Yeah, I very specifically want them ready for the thing that's going to murder us from the hole, not the outside. Feely's the watch for the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Put him in the least
Fair
harm's
enough.
way.
I don't know. If I felt the Lictor was around, I'd imagine it'd fucking jump from
Why would you
inside the
feel the Lictor
Torox.
was around?
Because everything about this gives me Tyranid vibes.
I don't know why.
Well, gene stealers are pretty fucking
Oh wait,
similar
we
to
should be
what's
having this
going on.
conversation in character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not saying this,
Right.
although his advisory earlier implied that he thought it was a issue, but he didn't specifically say that.
Okay, that's fair.
Frampt will
Mason's
climb out
just
of
a
the
paranoid
Torox.
motherfucker.
That's like
With
half the
Tyranids.
people. That's like half the squads.
Frampt climbs out of
It
the
works.
Torox, glances up at you on top of it, Flux, and says, "Perhaps someone on that turret would be useful."
You offering?
He shrugs. "I can do the job if you have no other use for me."
I would appreciate it.
He nods, climbs in, makes his way into the turret seat. The heavy flamer clanks for a moment before you hear the whine of a motor as it turns to face the hole, and the flamer itself ratchets down.
I imagine
The
Flux
pilot
is like
ignites
mild.
with a- The
I
pilot
imagine-
light ignites with a little thump.
Oh dear. I imagine Flux is like, because they're on the top of the Torox, a little bit to the side and mildly to the front. They're just gonna glance back at him for a minute. Maybe, and you know, stuff happens on the battlefield, but I'd prefer not to probably die. And they're just gonna give him.
Don't stand in the hole when I use the flamer.
Yeah, they're just gonna give him a grin and a little thumbs up and then get themselves back to being situated.
Yeah.
Flux is gonna kind of camp themselves out with the long glass and have it set up against the Torox and pointed towards the hole. But they're gonna just kind of lay so that if Framp decides to be overzealous, they can just roll off the side.
Fair. Alright. As the squad take up their positions, the servo skull disappears underground, following the shallowly angled tunnel almost. The walls of the tunnel are about maybe 1.5 meters apart. The rock itself is cracked and fractured as though it was under great pressure. Chunks have fallen out of the ceiling in the aftermath of whatever impacted.
I'm relaying this description to anyone who's around me, which I don't think is anybody, but that's okay.
Overbox.
No, not over Vox. I'm already plugged into something.
Oh, right. I forgot you can't do both. Feels bad.
Even if I can, it
Well,
would still
she
be
can use her
terrible.
Vox because you can't.
It's not inside as well because you're plugged in, so you can't interact with the real space in that
Well, no,
way.
you can. You just one servo skull you can pilot fairly easily with the tech roll. 2 servo skulls require split attention, and that you can't. So 2 or more is kind of because basically you're inhabiting multiple bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on how much of you want to have in the skull versus in your body.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
you can
relaying this
interact
to
with
anyone
other
who's in
people.
earshot, which maybe nobody.
Yeah,
That's
Riven's
okay.
just a dumbass.
Yes.
This has
It's
nothing to do with the number of skulls.
It's like filtering your awareness.
Right.
You can look for different sounds and pick them out among a load of other sounds. It's the same kind of deal, only picking out your physical senses from your servo skull senses.
Also, she plugged in before anyone else did anything, so she has no idea where anyone is logistically. So she's just
That
talking
is fair.
to anyone who's physically near her, which again, maybe nobody, and that's fine.
I'm amused that
Private
of the 2 of
Leisha-
them, Riven has more Mechanicus training than Flux does, and yet is just like, I'm here now, I do nothing else. And Flux is like, oh yeah, interesting stuff in the back of my head.
Yep.
Private Leisha is still in the back of the Taurox.
Okay, so she's getting all of this relayed to her. Whatever she wants to do with is up to her. I'm just describing, pretty much what you're explaining. So.
You'll be relaying the Crib Notes version to everyone on the Vox.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah, the servo skull continues down a good 15 meters, maybe edging towards 20, when it suddenly comes out into an underground cavern, quite high up in the wall. The cavern itself is jagged and slopes up narrowly into a very low-ceilinged but fairly wide stretch of uneven ground. Stalagmites and stalactites hang from the ceiling and rise from the floor, pretty much all over the place. But several of them have crumbled or been smashed by something passing through. And the servo skull is able to follow the debris and find at first a single metal pylon with a little tripod set up at its feet with a lumen strip. It seems to be unpowered though, and as the servo skull drifts past this, its lumen casts light upon a rough, damaged looking metal pod, heavily armored and reinforced in various places, and you can see directional thrusters on the back end. The front has been blown off and lies several feet away, and you can see a cushioned crash couch inside, large enough for a single person. Looks
Anyone
like
there?
Imperial design.
Okay.
It's not NIDS. Unless that guy was part of a gene stealer cult.
Weird. All right. Uh, any kind of no, there wouldn't be any markings. Is the computer or whatever the equivalent of a computer cogitator in the pod still on? Does it even have one?
It looks heavily damaged.
Sure.
While the
Okay.
pod is quite well armored, it was not designed to smash through the bedrock of a planet.
All right. I'm probably gonna relay that to
What?
Leisure via, saying it out loud, and just ask, can you ask, can you ask Flux if they want me to go further?
Leisha will nod, entirely unaware that you can't see her,
Yep,
and
that's fair.
speak hurriedly into the Vox. Sergeant Major, Corporal Ribbon has found an escape pod, an armored Imperial pod, large enough for a single occupant. Do you wish them
Question.
to investigate further?
Question for you first. How long are the little attachment things that I can pull out of me?
About a meter.
Could I? Is that long enough to like thread it through the window of the Taurox and also get a view
No.
of what Riven's seeing?
No.
Add an extension cable to the shopping list.
Do they
Fun
make
idea.
extension
Tactical
cables for
extension
those?
cable.
I would imagine such cables exist.
You just daisy chain them. You link to one of my ports. I'll plug it in. Between that, we
Exactly.
can yeah.
Mind meld.
So yes or no? Should I continue?
Yeah. Um. Shit. If she binaric whatever's at my computer stuff, could she transmit an image? Like it would just get it?
I don't think I can do both at once. That's a lot to ask on a brain.
What implants do you have again, Flux?
I have the augmetic eye that does the pict recording. I have the cogitators for messing with the neural plug whatevers.
I would say with
And I'm
your
usually hardwired to the data pad.
yeah, being hardwired to the Vox, I would say Riven could binarically transmit an image over the Vox that your implanted cogitator could recognize. You would have to download the image to a data slate, but
But I already have that.
yeah.
Do me a favor. Could you send me through the Vox a image of what you're seeing so I can get a fuller picture?
Sure. Leisha,
a
can you give me
picture
the
at all.
box?
You do have one. You have an earpiece.
Yeah, but she's also like, she'd be able to hold it. I can do both at the same time, can't I?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Everybody who isn't Flux may want to drop off Vox for a minute, and then she starts screeching, not waiting at all for anyone else to drop off.
Yeah. Flux, you can see outside Brackle curse pull her headset off.
As the fucking dial-up tone starts.
In a weird turn
Yeah,
of events. Ooh.
a brief screech. Doesn't take more than a few seconds, maybe 5. The compressed data stream flooding through your Vox into your cogitator implant. And you can feel the system working, translating the data. And it displays on the data slate a shadowy cavern and a metal pod looking damaged, with the door lying several feet away on its side.
Okay. Given that, is there any way Flux would recognize what this is or where it came from or any kind of design, whatever?
You can give me a. I
I
think
would
this would be a
argue this
pilot.
is a scholar role.
I think it's piloting. Because much like ballistic skill relates to weapons technology, pilot skill relates to vehicle technology.
Hmm.
Rip.
You've
This
never seen
isn't
this
worth a
particular
reroll.
mod before, but it is definitely an Imperial make escape pod. Presumably from a commercial vessel, but it looks like a fairly high-end model.
Could I do a tech to see if there's any hints on the specific machining or computer stuff in the photo?
I would say that would be an awareness rather than a tech.
Okay.
You can see a single insignia, a single marking that could be construed as identification. And I will post that in chat.
I like that you had that prepared.
All right, chat, good. Printed on the inside of the door at about eye height for the occupant. No other markings.
Alex is a dumb bitch and doesn't know what this is.
I mean, same. So
That's fine.
yeah.
You
Should
can
this
give me
mean
a
something to me?
My initial thought was, oh, it's Inquisition. It's like, wait a minute, no, theirs is more specialized. That's a Space Marine thing.
So,
I
did you say
think.
scholar?
You have not seen this symbol before. You're not sure what it is.
Given I have this as a digital file, is there any way I could like zoom in or like circle it or something to show framed?
You can crop the image and get a blown up, blurry
Cool.
version. Yes.
I'm also gonna roll scholar because I'm literally staring at this thing and I am now
There's
curious.
no zoom or enhanced software on this fucking
Never
in
mind.
this world.
My brain is enhanced software.
Would anyone have described it out loud at all? Just get other opinions?
No, I'm trying to recognize it and stare at it, and
Yeah,
those two things take up my brain.
Flux is gonna straighten up and just kind of scoot himself up by the turret to Frampt and hand over the data slate. See right there in that bit. Is that something you recognize?
Through the firing slit of the turret, Frampt frowns a little, reaches up, pops the hatch, pulls himself up, takes the data slate from you. I might be wrong, but that looks like the insignia of the Road Trader Associations.
What?
Passing ship got fucked. Rip.
An escape pod from a rogue trader. Great.
So should I go in further or no?
Yeah, keep going.
All right, I do that.
Going further into the cave, or
Yeah.
all right.
I know the
As
joke's
the
not funny more
service-
than once, but every once in a while, it's nice to just be able to go. Okay, I do that.
Yeah, as the servo skull drifts deeper into the cavern, the signal begins to get staticky, fuzzy.
Shit.
You can't see a great deal of interest down here.
Mm.
The escape pod seems to be the only unnatural inclusion.
I'm hitting range. Flux. It's getting a bit staticky. I think I might come up. Not much more recon I can do from here. I might have to go in.
Yeah, sounds like it's time to go cave diving.
Okay, just what I always wanted. Yeah, I'll flip the server skull around, send it back up, and whenever that comes back up, unplug myself and get ready to go.
Yeah, Flux will hop off the Torox and ready the... What the fuck is the fancy gun called?
Flamer?
No.
Oh, one of
The
The
Meltagun?
Solex. Whatever.
Yeah, the Solix 9 pattern, also known as the Deathlight.
I will never remember its name, and I apologize in advance for that.
I just call it cool las gun. But
Does that mean the normal las gun is just the lame las gun, or is it just the las gun? And
It's
then is
just
there
the-
another las gun that is the lame las gun?
It's
The
the
las
las
pistol,
gun.
the
It's
lame
the
las
las. It's the las gun and the cooler las gun.
Nah,
It's the lame las gun now.
Technically speaking, you were equipped with the M939 pattern Cantrailed las guns before you got your new ones.
I don't actually hold rank, and I'm not part of the Militarum, right? So I don't actually have standard equipment from them.
Man, I don't know what to
You
tell you. I'm
do
Mechanicus
have-
and I hold rank.
You do have the full standard kit of an Astra Militarum trooper, so lasgun, uniform, flak armor, etc. But you have full freedom on whether or not you use any of it.
Okay, I didn't know I had the las gun
Real
or
real
the
quick,
armor.
Apparently, there's problems with there's problems with the stream. It's buffering a lot. Give me just a second. I'm gonna restart the stream, and
Okay.
and then we'll get right back to this.
Alright, I will step away then for a moment.